And welcome to another exciting episode of Can It Take a K26? The show where I take a variety of blasters and see if they can be upgraded with a K26 spring. I am your host, Captain Xavier, and our first contestant is the Kira Blaster Pistol from the upcoming Han Solo movie that I'm super looking forward to. Luchathor and I recently went to Toys R Us, the one near me that is going out of business, and picked up a couple of items. He picked up one of these two. Hopefully his review will be up soon, which should be hilarious, and I hope you guys enjoy that. But I grabbed one as well to do a K26 episode on, because I really like the look of it, and I'm not sure. Part of me was like, no, of course it can't, but then I remembered that the Double Down could take a pretty impressive spring, so we're going to see what this thing has. It hasn't been opened, never been sniffed. As a basic review, it's very comfortable, actually, and it will, in fact, fit in a standard pistol holster. It'll fit on the one that I have on my chest rig. I like the handle. It's a good, solid handle. The indent here is not the... No, I like it. It is 2-barrel, Smart AR, rear prime. It does make noise and has a little bit of light that really doesn't do anything, but it does make noise, which is nifty. The one thing I don't like is this priming handle. It's similar to some of the other Star Wars handles, where it doesn't have a full ring that you can actually put your finger in, which means even if we can get a heavy spring in this, that's going to make it a little bit harder to prime. Now, you might be able to reach up here and get 2 fingers on it, or you could probably put a ring through there or something. But anyway, but let's get this thing open and see if it can take a K26. This screwdriver was given to me by a fan at Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, so that's neat. One thing that Luchathor and I noticed when we opened this up that was not exactly in its favor is that the catch does not actually have a spring. It's just a piece of plastic that's pushing up. It would not, I don't think, be too difficult to, yeah, that's neat. Add a spring if this proves to not be tight enough, but the way it locks is it's a lever, which I think might actually be stronger than I'm imagining. At least I'm sure hoping it is. It sure looks like there's an awful lot of unused compression. My first concern was that this wasn't going to get enough compression, but looking at it, I don't think that's actually the big concern here. I think there's plenty of unutilized compression, and it's really just going to be a matter of whether or not the mechanism can handle the weight, which I kind of think it is going to be able to. Bust out the K26. We've got lots of small sections, so we might be able to find one that we won't have to cut, or we won't have to cut much anyway. Same length as the stock one, though I think we might go with, yeah, we will be cutting it down a little bit probably. K26 will fit, that is not the concern. You can definitely cut off at least looks like we could actually get away with cutting off 2 whole rings. I'm going to start with one. I'd rather have it a little too long than end up with it too short and not work at all. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kira Blaster can take a K26. And I'm genuinely surprised. I am now, of course, naturally very tempted to try to bore out the Smart AR and turn it into a shotgun pistol, because that would be a magnificent blaster to be able to, you know, quick draw and shoot it. With the K26, it's a beefy prime. You wouldn't want to try to prime it using the hook here. You want to prime it with both fingers on either side because it's a tough prime. But it's very possible. Oh, and it hits like a tank. It's a short prime, but it's a large enough plunger tube to take K26. So I'm very, very impressed with this, and I'm very, very pleased with this. I will definitely be painting this up in my colors, and I will almost certainly grab a second one and try to shotgun pistol one of them because that is pretty cool. I definitely like this form factor way better than the double down, so that is pretty cool. All right, on to the next contestant. Our next contestant was sent to me by a fan. Unfortunately, I have no idea which one. Hopefully they remember and get a hold of me. It is the Rocket Racoon blaster from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And at first glance, I thought this was ridiculous and hideous, and I didn't like it. And this is definitely very uncomfortable, and the stock thing is uncomfortable. But in looking at it, with those removed, it is in fact a pump action 4-barrel smart AR blaster, and it feels fairly robust. I have high hopes for this. I'm really hoping it can, and I'm also really hoping that this thing will in fact come apart. So let's get to it. Aha! Got that shield off. So let's check my supposition. Yeah, so without that, the trigger well is a little small for my big hands, but it's actually a fairly comfortable grip, and I like that. So let's see what we've got internally. Well, that is a tragic stock spring. It's also tragically things are not looking good, but I have not given up already. That would be silly. Okay, so it is a slightly offset prime, but not by much. There doesn't really feel like there's much flex at all. The downside, it does come apart, that's nice, and it looks like the plunger head comes off, but the spring has to compress down into the plunger head, and we're definitely not going to be able to get K26 to fit into that. And we need the full compression for this to get back far enough to catch. But what do we have? Now, this spring is fairly high frequency, as you can see. So we need something that compresses to that length. So if we can find a lower frequency but heavier gauge spring, K26 fits in the plunger head just fine, but because of the design of this, you know? I still don't know that we would ever get K26 to compress enough. I'm wondering if it actually needs the back half of that at all. If I could, in fact, cut it off right there. But that's not a risk I'm willing to take with a blaster that I'm probably going to have to return. So I definitely don't want to risk breaking it. Let's take a look at springs. I have been sent a number of smaller springs. Not quite small enough. That one's small enough, but it's not long enough. That stuff is small enough. It's a whole lot stiffer. It is a little bit thicker, and it is really close to the same frequency. We're going to try it, though. We are definitely going to give it a try. If we cut off these squared ends, that will give us a little bit more compression. And I don't know that we need to be that full length. I imagine there was at least some pre-compression. No, No, we need the full length. Definitely doesn't look like we're getting enough compression. Because this spring is too thick. Okay, so I'm thinking that is a little too heavy. So let's see what we can find in between. Well, much to my annoyance, I was unable to find a single suitable replacement spring. All the springs I have are either too wide because this thing has a very small plunger head allowance, or were too short. I did find a couple that looked to be similar frequency, similar gauge, and a heavier spring rating, but they were both too short. And that would never do. Alright, well, that is a no to the Rocket Racoon Blaster. Not only can it not take a K26, I couldn't even find a suitable spring to do a spring upgrade. If you could find a spring of the right gauge, diameter, and frequency, you would be able to upgrade it, but that's a very specific spring size. As this is not mine, and I'm pretty sure this one they wanted back, I didn't want to modify the plunger head, which is what you would need to do in this to be able to add either a larger spring or a second spring around the stock one. If I ever get my hands on one of these for myself, I would probably be willing to try that because it is actually a very comfortable blaster if you take the stock and the handguard off, and it's a 4 AR front pump. And with a heavier spring, I think it could actually be a really nice blaster. A little bit wide, but still, I believe, holsterable. So, yeah, I'd like to get my hands on one of these and see what actually could be done to it if you were willing to risk destroying it. So, let's recap. Alright, for those of you just tuning in or who just skipped to the end to see the results, that was a yes for the Key Raw Blaster and a no for the Rocket Racoon Blaster, which is opposite of what I was expecting, which is why I love this show. This one took it with no problem. Priming it is a little bit of a beast, but not overly so. And I would love to see how well this thing would perform as a shotgun pistol, so I am going to have to go pick myself up another one at Goodwill, or not Goodwill, Toys R Us, possibly tomorrow, maybe later. This one I think has a lot of potential. It does have a fairly large plunger tube, but the plunger head is designed in such a way that it only accepts a very specific spring size. And since this is not my blaster and I know they wanted it back, I didn't want to risk cutting that and potentially bricking the blaster. So if I ever get my hands on another one of these that is mine, I would very much be willing to try to alter that plunger head in such a way that it could take either a larger spring, or just an additional spring. So there are the results. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions for future episodes, go ahead and put them in the comments section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching.